What's up, guys? UFC 320 just ended, and I'm here to break down everything that happened on this exciting card, starting from the top, actually, from the main event, going all the way down to the bottom on the very early prelims. And me and the cat Lemon here, who is sleeping, are going to break down the entire card. But first, since this was a pay-per-view, I kind of want to announce this is something that happens on my channel. I give out $100 on every single pay-per-view to the winner of each pick'ems group of my specific pick'ems group. So you'll come to tapology.com, and it's going to be tapology.com/groups/2048, and you join this group, and all you have to do is make your picks, like you'll see on this screen right here. These are my picks. We did very well on this card. So if you come in first place like Big Stan did this week, I will send you $100 through CashApp. Just make sure you have a CashApp. If we tie, I'll just split it amongst the winners. Anyways, that being said, join the Tapology. You'll make $100 if you win on the pay-per-views. Once I'm monetized, we might make it every single event. Or just increase the pay on the pay-per-views. Anyways, let's start out with the main event. Alex Pereira coming out extremely aggressive and knocks out Magomedov Ankalaev. Drops him pretty bad and then starts finishing him with elbows. So let's get to it. Starting out, he just immediately takes the center, throws a big combination right at Magomed, backs him up to the cage, and just he stays at least in the center the entire rest of the fight, which does not last long. I think it lasted for about 1 minute and 20 seconds. Yeah, that's what Tapology says is 1 minute and 20. So, yeah, big strikes landed from Alex Pereira early. He backs up Magomed, lands a big either overhand right or right hook, if you will, and sorry, my cat's meowing, and drops Magomed at Ankalaev. Starts just hammer fisting, just trying to get the fight over with pretty quickly. And then switches up eventually, starts dropping elbows on him. I had been screaming during the fight companion, drop elbows, elbows, elbows. And he starts 12-6ing and gets the stoppage right there. Incredible performance from Alex Pereira. Shama is back. The UFC is so fucking back right now. I'm so glad that we're where we are. I can't wait for what's to come in the UFC now that Alex Pereira is champ again. Anyways, Alex Pereira gets a first round stoppage. This is vintage Pereira. He looked amazing. He looked extremely aggressive. It was an awesome fight to watch. Great vengeance kind of moment for him to get that fight back. Moving on to an exciting Dvalishvili fight. We had 5 rounds of Merab versus Corey Sandhagen, and it was not a boring fight. And early on, I was very worried about my pick. Corey Sandhagen looked very sharp early. He was landing jabs, strikes. Everything he was landing was clean, perfect early. And Merab wasn't landing very good early on. Wasn't getting any good takedown attempts. He was getting shucked off. Anytime he did get a takedown in that first round, Corey was immediately up, breaking away, separating and striking, landing good combinations, aggression early. He kind of looked like how Alex was looking early, just less dangerous. Then the second round happened, and Merab took over. Got a couple takedowns, if I'm not mistaken. Lands a big right, like a combination with a big right hand in it that actually hurts Sandhagen and drops him, if I'm not mistaken. Merab lands some big ground and pound, heavy, stays top pressure for a majority of the round, landing good strikes. Corey Sandhagen never really gets out and lands any significant strikes back, so probably a 10-8 round there from Merab, who just kind of controls the rest of the round, knees the thigh, lands some solid strikes, some solid uppercuts while they're kind of in this, like, in that position. In the turtle position, if you will. Round 3 comes around. It's just a Merab round. You can tell Corey Sandhagen has not recovered at all from round 2. He's still loopy. He's not really, his fight IQ's not there. He's not fighting like Corey was in the first round. And Merab just gets a ton of takedowns, just kind of dominates him, knees the thigh a lot, gets him up against the cage, takes him down, mat returns over and over and over. There were a ton of takedown attempts, but it was more of a fun fight, honestly. Fourth round comes around, and in my opinion, I think Corey Sandhagen looked very fresh again. He looked solid. He was landing very good strikes, nasty, like left hook kind of shovel uppercuts to the body, and landing very good shots on Merab to the body especially. I thought he ended up taking them around, even though Merab had some decent control time on him, or like takedowns. Not even really good control time, honestly. He really got in that like semi-Darce position, but it wasn't a tight choke or anything, so there was no real threat of a choke from Merab there. So I personally gave Corey Sandhagen the first and the fourth round, and then the fifth round, Merab just kind of Merab'd around for the fifth round and took over. Corey Sandhagen lands a pretty big strike in the last, 10 seconds of the round. Nothing else comes out. He raises his hands like he did something special, like he had finished the fight pretty much. And Merab wades him in and lands a big strike back, and that's the end of the fight. Merab looked impressive. It was another great performance. I really do not know who can beat Merab, honestly. A fight with Umar will be fun again, but, I just don't see him being able to deal with the pressure of Merab like anybody else. Anyways, great performance from Merab. This was another fun performance from Merab. I had so much fun watching these fights on this card. This was a great card overall, especially for the pay-per-view. This was great. Moving on to the feature fight. Moving back up to the light heavyweight division, we had Yuri Prochazka defeating Khalil Rountree by round 3 knockout. Yuri Prochazka looked bad in these first 2 rounds, man. Khalil Rountree was absolutely dominating the range, the distance. He was counter-striking. Yuri was doing a good job of being first, but Khalil would then be second and third. So he would throw a combination rather than let Yuri get that first, let him be second, and then go third, which is what Yuri kind of likes to do. But Khalil was disrupting that by striking second and third and then fourth. And his speed was a big problem for Yuri. You could tell Yuri did not like the speed of Khalil Rountree, but he dealt with it eventually. Khalil started to slow down a little bit in the second round, you could see, but Khalil was still kind of dominating that round too. Although Yuri did land a bit more in the second round, he was there a lot more than the first round. But it was still a pretty clear Khalil Rountree round, in my opinion. Yuri comes out third round, and you can tell he knew he needed a finish, and he was extremely aggressive. Fought more like the Yuri Prochazka that we know, rather than one that was fighting similar. He looked like he had regressed until that third round, and then he just kind of bowled forward and just went through the shots, and Khalil Rountree, you could tell, started to wear. Yuri Prochazka landed some very, very nasty body shots. He ripped some nasty body shots, very similar to the Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree fight, how Alex hit him with those big body shots right before the finish. And you could tell Khalil was starting to slow down because his hooks were coming out like this rather than, all technical and snappy and quick like they had been. They were still landing, but there was nothing on them enough to deter Yuri from coming back at all with bigger shots. They clinched up a lot while Yuri had him hurt in the third round, and once Yuri separated and landed a couple more big strikes, he lands, I think, a left hook during a combination and just flatlines Khalil Rountree, who just topples over like a tree falling down. It was a beautiful finish from Yuri Prochazka, but an amazing performance in the entire performance for Khalil Rountree up until he just couldn't handle the pressure and beating that Yuri Prochazka had started to put on him in the third round. Anyways, good win from Yuri Prochazka. He definitely needs to go back and really, really work on some things again. He looked like he had seriously regressed in this fight. If he fought somebody like Carlos Ulberg, I do fear that he would get knocked out, and Yuri is one of my favorite fighters. Moving on to a not so shocking finish for me, but maybe shocking for other people. Yusuf Zalal submits Josh Emmett in the very first round. I picked the second round. I thought it might take him some time to get to the back and submit it with a rear naked choke, but the armbar was there as well. Yusuf Zalal looked very impressive, stayed at range. Josh Emmett really didn't get too much going. He feinted in at range a lot like how TJ Dillashaw would and didn't really do too much. Yusuf Zalal shoots in a takedown, gets the ground, takes the back immediately, but doesn't have full secure position, kind of more like a quarter mount, if you will, I think. Maybe S-guard, if you will. Or S-mount. and ends up getting toppled over to the back and stays on top of him on his back, just kind of in an armbar position, rolls through and secures that deep armbar position and extends the hips, and you see Josh Emmett starting to make more space, and he extends the arm and he screams tap. Great performance from Yusuf Zalal, getting a finish over Josh Emmett, who doesn't get submitted often but does get submitted. It showed that Yusuf Zalal has a really dangerous ground game too. So I was very impressed by his performance. Great submission here from Yusuf Zalal. Speaking of submissions, we're moving to the middleweight division. We've got Joe Pyfer versus Abbas, defeating Abbas Nurmagomedov by, I think it was arm triangle, and I don't remember what choke it was, but defeating him by rear naked choke, I want to say. One second. We have the internet at our disposal. Rear naked choke, yeah. Joe Pyfer defeating Abbas Nurmagomedov by rear naked choke. Joe Pyfer surviving the early storm of Abbas, who, always seems to gas no matter what. By the second round. Abbas looked very good early on in the first round. Dominated Joe Pyfer pretty early on. Landed some solid strikes. Got the takedown. Controlled him very well. Until that last 30 seconds, I want to say, where Pyfer got up and landed some good strikes. Nothing too clean, but you could tell Abbas was tired already. And second round starts, immediately Pyfer puts on the pressure because he knew Abbas was tired and is not going to recover as quickly as other people. There has to be some kind of cardio issue with this guy, or he just does not train in any way, shape, or form other than technique. And he does not go spar and go heavy or anything. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't live roll even. I don't know. Pyfer lands some big shots early, early in the second round, drops Abbas Nurmagomedov, and then ends up going for a arm triangle choke against the cage. Ends up not being able to get that and secure it. Takes position, rear naked chokes Abbas Nurmagomedov, who taps out. Great performance from Joe Pyfer. He took some adversity early on and then ends up winning, but Abbas Nurmagomedov did end up gassing just like he did in every other fight. So all you have to really do is make it to the second round and you can beat him as long as you have any kind of gas tank. Anyways, moving on to Atiba Gutierrez versus Tristan Vines. This is exactly what you predicted. A guy who just shouldn't be in the UFC getting blasted out by Francis Ngannou Jr. in the middleweight division. Tristan Vines looked like he had never been punched in his life. It was not a good performance from him at all. He should not be in the UFC. Do not let him fight again, ever again, please. He ran the entire time, shot for one takedown, got kneed in the forehead, but it was because it was 20 feet out because he was terrified. And yeah, cut him. Anyways, great performance from Atiba Gutierrez. It's exactly what you expected, though. Please make him fight somebody up the rankings a little bit. Moving on to a very surprising finish. Ju Sang Yu being knocked out by Daniel Santos in the very second round. Early on. Good performance early in the first round from Ju Sang Yu. He looked very flashy and everything. He was landing some very clean shots and making Daniel Santos miss a lot, but using a lot of energy in doing so, and eventually gives up a takedown because he was not in position to defend it very well. I think that kind of sapped his energy because in the second round, very early in, comes out, hands still down, gets cracked very early on because Daniel Santos makes the adjustment because Ju Sang Yu backs up a lot rather than circling and using angles or good lateral movement. And Daniel Santos either him or his corner made the read, but he made the adjustment himself, so great on him for doing so. Instead of just throwing one strike and backing up like he had been early in the first round, he threw 1, 2, 3, and then eventually got to Ju Sang Yu and knocked him down, and then eventually just finishes him by TKO. Beautiful performance from Daniel Santos, and beautiful adjustment. Great fight IQ. I mean, this is just the adjustments you want to see. And I'm going to start picking this kid way more often now, I think. It was a great performance. You hate to see the kind of loss for Zombie Jr. here, but incredible performance from Daniel Santos here. Moving on to the bantamweight division, we've got Jacob Walkowitz defeating Patchy Mix by decision. So I had Walkowitz winning rounds 1 and 2, and Patchy Mix barely eking out round 3 because Walkowitz was working more off his back, in my opinion. So I thought he also maybe should have won round 3, but yeah, that might just be my bias of people working off their back. Walkowitz looked good, but Patchy Mix just looked bad, man. He looked exactly how he looked in the Mario Batista fight. I don't know where the guy who was fighting in Bellator went. Like, he doesn't even look like he's the same fighter at all when he's in the UFC. It's been really weird. I'm not saying cut him, give him another fight, but I don't even want to say give him a low-ranked fight because this wasn't even a guy who was in the UFC before. Walkowicz looked impressive, though, so I want to see him move up the rankings for sure. I'd like to see him take on a tougher fight. Maybe not somebody in the rankings quite yet, but maybe a guy that would next get him a fight into the rankings. We'll see what I do with the fights to make video, but Patchy Mix looked terrible, man. He has some good ground exchanges, but that was about it. Moving on to the still in the prelims, middleweight division, Edmund Shabazian defeating Andre Muniz by round 1 KO. We called this perfect. Andre Muniz just doesn't have the greatest striking defense, and Shabazian's blitzes eventually caught him. I don't remember the fight all that well. There was a little bit of clinching. Shabazian had to defend a couple takedowns, but he ended up doing so very well. But Shabazian just landed a big shot that ended up dropping Muniz, and he just kind of folded and kind of quit and then got hit a couple more times. The referee called it. Great performance from Shabazian, but it's against a guy you expect to get knocked out pretty easily by him. Moving on to Punahele Soriano defeating Nikolai Veretnikov by decision. Jesus Christ. Punahele Soriano had a great performance in this fight. Looked kind of rocky early in the first round especially, but I gave him the last 2 rounds, I think. Grappling took over and just kind of beat up Veretnikov all over the place. Pretty good performance. It's not what I expected, but normally Punahele doesn't have quite that gas tank, so it's a good thing you see him winning fights like this now. This was a great performance from him. The early rocky beginning, I kind of like seeing him being able to overcome that adversity early, because he was eating some shots from Veretnikov and not being able to implement his game very well early on, and ended up being able to do it pretty well. So great performance from Soriano in the end. Can't wait to see his next fight, man. Moving on to the women's divisions, we will go over this quick. Yana Santos beats Macy Chasson by decision. She just beat her up. I thought Chasson was better than this, but turns out she's terrible. I thought she would fight more like a man since she looks like a boy, but maybe it's just her boyishness. Yana Santos fought like a Russian woman. Looked good, I guess. Don't care about her next fight, though. Moving on to another fight I really didn't care about that was pretty boring on this card, that otherwise was very good. Fareed Basharat defeating Chris Gutierrez by decision. A lot of striking. I was surprised to see Fareed Basharat be able to kind of outstrike Gutierrez, but not too surprising knowing that he's kind of a grappler, and then that would kind of make Gutierrez's game kind of stifle a little bit and him not want to throw as much because he might get taken down on a kick or something. Great performance from Basharat. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I was kind of bored through it and didn't watch it fully focused or anything. But it was a very good performance from Basharat. Ends up taking down Gutierrez a good bit, controlling him a good bit, landing some solid shots on top. Not too many, though, so wasn't super impressed by the performance, but it was good to see that he can outstrike Gutierrez and outgrapple him as well. Moving on to Ramiz Brahimaj defeating Austin Vanderford by submission, 10-finger guillotine, if I'm remembering right. This was a shock to me. I thought Vanderford's grappling would be able to dominate Brahimaj, but he did in the first round and then ends up getting head kicked, and that changed the entire tune of the fight. You just saw Vanderford's fight IQ just kind of vanish from there. The positions he would stay in that he just shouldn't, that he could easily have escaped, that he just didn't get out of because of laziness or because of, him being hurt still. But Brahimaj ended up looking pretty good. He overcame the adversity early. He did get dominated in the entire first round. Lands that head kick in the second round, and it just changed the fight entirely. Beats up Vanderford from there, gets that 10-finger guillotine, and submits him. Moving on to the very first fight of the night, we have Veronica Hardy defeating Brogan Walker by decision. Pretty solid fight. I mean, it was a good looks fight, if you will, but I don't talk about women's fights too often unless they're super exciting, and this was not that. There were 33 strikes total landed in this entire fight, so nothing to talk about. Veronica Hardy's pretty. That's about it. Anyways, guys, like I said, if you want to make $100 per pay-per-view, join my Tapology group, tapology.com/groups/2048. It is completely free to join. There's no fees, no nothing. It comes completely out of my own pocket, and all you have to do is make fight picks, save them, and then win. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe, please, guys. That'll help out the channel grow and help me with my giveaways and stuff. And hope you guys all have a great day. I can't wait for the next fights. Check out my next fights to make video come tomorrow. And have a great rest of your day. Hope you enjoy the fights next weekend. See you later, guys. Bye.